Bree here, and I have a lot of weddings coming up right now between friends and family, so I thought it was time to tap into one of the juiciest kinds of Am I the A-hole posts, wedding drama. Let's get into it. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to attend my best friend's wedding or be a part of it? I feel like if you don't want to be a part of your best friend's wedding, that's not your best friend. I would have been crushed if I couldn't have been a part of my best friend's wedding. I don't even understand, but before we judge too harshly, let's get the full story. Let's start off by saying I'm really happy for my best friend. I'm happy that she found the love of her life. She has a beautiful daughter and a wonderful fiancé. Now, this is the thing. Even though I'm overjoyed for her and excited for her, this whole wedding process has been miserable for me. So for context, there was talks of the wedding dating back to December 2025, but nothing was ever set in stone. Fast forward to February 2026, she finally solidifies that she wants to get married in October of this year. Now, with her wedding only being a short couple months away, I've had to scrape and figure out how to pay for it because there was no time to really save for it. Weddings can be a financial burden on the friends of those getting married. There's possibly travel costs, there's bridesmaid stress costs if you're going to be a bridesmaid, you know, there's bachelorette party, there's a lot of costs involved in being a part of particularly your best friend's wedding, and I understand that. But you did know this was coming. And there has been time to save up a little bit. This feels like the kind of thing you can talk to the bride about with your budget and maybe be like, hey, I just don't have the money to contribute as much as I would like to your bachelorette party and all these pre-wedding activities. Here is my budgets. And if they're really your best friend, they should care more about you being a part of their special day than how much you're spending on them. This kind of thing, while I acknowledge it can be a sticking point, I feel like it shouldn't stop you from celebrating with your best friend on her special day. She's having a destination wedding and it's going to be in Vegas. I've already spent $2,000 so far. Okay. I should have kept reading one more sentence. Destination weddings are more expensive. And you've already spent $2,000? I feel like you're kind of invested. How have you already spent $2,000? Is it buying tickets and stuff? How much more do you have to spend? Again, I feel like this is a conversation with the bride kind of thing. Last year, dating back to December, I had a pretty crappy job. I only made $13 an hour and I really didn't have money left over for savings, okay? I guess you could consider me a broke college student at the time. I feel like your best friend should probably recognize where you're at financially. During that time, she knew I was struggling and she knew I didn't have much money and I'm still trying to build myself even now, and it's hard when I have been dishing out so much money towards the wedding. Her and I, we'll call her Amy, had a conversation surrounding the wedding. Okay, that's good. And things that needed to be paid for now. This is where I start to feel out of place. During the conversation, she asked me about my finances. Okay, that's a good starting point. It's good that she's being somewhat conscientious of it looks like. She even asked me to unlock my phone so that she could take a look at my bank account to see what I had because she wanted to, and I quote, make sure I could fulfill my bridesmaid duties. Okay, I'm taking back my endorsement of this bride because that is weird. That is weird. You do not need to, asking, hey, I want you to be a bridesmaid. What's your financial situation like? Because I want to know what you can afford so that we can budget accordingly. So I know, what price point to look at for dresses and that kind of thing. But no, I want to screen your financial information to see if you meet the minimum to be a bridesmaid. That's weird. And I feel like if she's your best friend, she shouldn't be doing that. I took offense, of course, because what do you mean you want to take a look at my bank account to see if I can fulfill my bridesmaid duties? That took me back because of all the times during this whole process where I felt completely alienated. As her best friend, I feel like I should be more involved in the wedding process than I am, and I'm not. My first instinct is to ask, have you talked to her about that? But I'm also just getting a really icky feeling about this bride right now, so I'm kind of giving the bridesmaid the benefit of the doubt. We have another best friend mutually together, we'll call her Marcy, and she's doing her makeup, and her sister, which is her matron of honor, is also helping. But all I'm doing is dishing out money on things for bridesmaids and the bride herself. So that sounds like something you sit down, talk, and be like, hey, I don't have the money to contribute all this financially to your wedding, but I want to contribute in some other way. Let her know what skills you have to offer. Like you said, your other friend's doing her makeup, so maybe if you're good at hair, you could offer to do her hair. Something like that. Now, as we're still having this conversation, I'm telling her of all the things that I'm trying to accomplish this year. I describe myself wanting to get a car this year and wanting to get my own place with my boyfriend. Makes sense, especially since you've been in a not so great financial place, so your life does not stop because your best friend's getting married. You still have the stuff that you want to spend your money on, which is fair, that comes first. She doesn't think I should be focused on those things. She says to me, I should be your only priority. Every time you get a boyfriend, I always get put on the back burner. I'm sorry, that's bringing... that one hit me hard because my ex-best friend pulled that on me a lot. It was always, every time you get a boyfriend, it's all about him, and I don't feel like your friend anymore, and we were in middle school and high school. I'm not saying I was blameless there. I probably did, get a little boy crazy, because, it's that going through hormones and all of that. Also, I feel like it's normal when you get a new significant other, you're excited about that and want to spend time with them. I'm not saying you should drop your friends, you should not, but I also did not drop her. She kind of always wanted everything to be all about her. So, the fact that I wasn't giving all of my attention to her. So this one, that hits home. Oh, that hits home. The funny thing, the same best friend, she started dating a guy who lived out of state and went to see him on my birthday. That stung because literally I have made her the priority in my life since we met. I've always had pretty crappy relationships, so she's always been there for me, which I can understand. It can be a little frustrating for a friend, especially when you care about them a lot. Yes, that is fair, and it's good that OP can acknowledge that. But it still doesn't excuse you dismissing all the things that I'm trying to accomplish. I can't help but think back to my college graduation. I invited all of my friends thinking they would show up, and only my parents and my grandfather was there. None of my friends even made an attempt to be there for my graduation, and this was the biggest graduation of my life because I was graduating from college, not just from high school, not just from, any old thing, but this is college. It's major. Yeah, it's something you put money into and is part of your future, college graduations are not fun to sit through. But you can show up for your best friend. Part of being friends with someone is sometimes making sacrifices and sitting through boring graduation ceremonies. I'm not gonna lie. She's also been a bridezilla. I kind of figured that from checking your bank information. Right now, she thinks the whole world revolves around her, and I don't know how to move forward with trying to appease her, but also making sure that I am together myself. Yeah, don't neglect yourself for someone else's wedding. Don't neglect yourself for your own wedding either. Just don't neglect yourself. I see marriage in my future, and I see me and my boyfriend moving in together in the future, and those are the things that I'm focused on right now, but I feel guilty because she isn't a priority to me anymore. Although I love her, I have felt exhausted myself over the years of always constantly being there for her, but never having the energy be returned. That is so sad that you feel guilty that your best friend is not your first priority over yourself. That is not how friendship should be. Yes, you should prioritize your friends, absolutely, but not at the detriment of yourself. So, am I the a-hole because I don't want to attend or be a part of my best friend's wedding anymore? No. I'd say no, because I don't think this person should be your best friend. This is not just about the wedding, and you can't make it just about the wedding. And if you do want to hold on to this friendship, then I think you do need to try to be a part of the wedding and just talk to her about what you can afford. But I don't think you should hold on to this friendship. I like this piece of advice. Read this back to yourself, OP, as if this were written by someone else. That is such a good perspective. That's something my therapist has said to me. If your friend was going through this, what would you tell them? Normally, I'm being hard on myself for something, and it's you wouldn't be blaming your friend if they were going through this, so don't blame yourself. But it absolutely works in this too. What would you tell a friend who is experiencing this? This is not the way a best friend treats someone. Weddings can have an effect on people. I was not perfect about everything around my wedding. I acknowledge that. But they shouldn't mean you expect your bridesmaids' lives to revolve around you and for them to go into debt because of you and to give up their own futures because of you. That is not acceptable. You can try to sit down and talk to her and explain this, and if she's receptive, maybe the friendship is worth salvaging. But from everything you've said, this just sounds way too familiar for me, so I just think you should cut this relationship off. I might be being a bit harsh because this hits really close to home for me, so let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I think toss the whole friend out. Okay, moving on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for telling my guests it's better they don't come to the wedding after they complained about our wedding too much? This one, I'm not sure without more context, but this sounds like something I would do. If I heard a whole bunch of people complain about my wedding, I'd be like, then don't come. If you don't want to be a part of it, then don't come. But that doesn't mean it's the appropriate response. That is kind of an emotional response. But it could be justified, so let's see. We are getting married in less than 2 months. Our RSVP deadline was a month ago, and everyone responded to our RSVP but one couple. We really had to hound them to get any kind of answer from them. Wedding RSVPs are so annoying. RSVPs in general are so annoying because no one respects RSVP deadlines. They really don't. And don't get me wrong, I get it. You see a date, you're like, oh, I'll figure that out later, and then it goes out of your mind and you completely forget. Like, I've been there. I get it. But it's so annoying when you're planning an event and having to try to wrangle RSVPs. Yesterday, they sent us a message telling us they are free to come, but alongside the reply, they sent us a long message how cumbersome and expensive it is to attend our wedding, and how tiring the weekend for them will be, and how they probably will retreat to their hotel room for most of the day and stay for the ceremony and part of the dinner, but retreat to their room for the rest of the festivities. That is so tacky. Why would you do that? If you don't want to come, don't come. That's literally the title of the post. Okay, I'm on OP's side. But it sounds to me like the guests are just trying to justify not staying the whole time. You could literally just be like, yes, we'll be there for the ceremony, but we're unable to stay for the reception. That is all you have to do. You don't have to do this whole long thing. Like, I don't even know what time people left our reception. People gradually trickled out at different times. I was busy celebrating my day. I did not pay attention to those details. So you don't even gotta make a big deal out of it. The bride and groom probably won't even notice if you leave a little early. We were taken aback because we are paying for everything. Food, drinks, parking. We are also paying for everyone's accommodation, a very nice lakeside hotel. Tell me again how cumbersome and expensive all of this is? This free vacation? Their biggest expense would be to pay for the gas for the 4-hour drive to the wedding and back. They have a car. They also complained about the dress code. We have black tie, but they both own clothes that would fit the dress code, so they wouldn't have to buy new ones anyway. But they complained about that too. Why am I getting the feeling that these people want to go stay at this nice hotel that you're paying for, but don't want to go to your wedding? They just want the free accommodations. We read the message and basically told them that if coming would be so tiresome for them, it is better not to come. Very true. We said that we aren't mad at all if someone can't make it or doesn't feel up to it, so there are no hard feelings, but basically uninvited them, which they aren't gonna like because they wanted the free trip. I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things budget-wise, but each guest costs us around $600, and I didn't feel like spending $1,200 on people that didn't even want to be there. No, why would you? I was already leaning toward not the a-hole, but the fact that you would have been spending $1,200 on these people that are complaining about the expense in being there? Absolutely! Why would you want to spend this money on them when they don't want to be there? They are now angry at us and refuse to speak to us, and we were thinking that maybe we were a bit harsh. Were we the a-holes? Absolutely not. It sounds to me like you even worded it in a nice way. It wasn't like you were like, oh, well, don't come then. You were like, hey, if it's going to be a burden on you, we understand if you can't make it. Maybe it's better that you don't come, and we are not upset. That's a great, very tactful way to handle it when they were absolutely rude to you. This person is on the same page as me. Aw, the ungrateful people planning to use their free hotel room as a personal retreat instead of celebrating with you, laid it on too thick and will have to pay for their own weekend getaway. Too bad, so sad. Exactly. Hit the bullseye with that comment, well said. All I can add is that uninviting them after they were specifically invited has likely ended whatever level of friendship you had. Fair. Especially with people who are so intent on looking for things to complain about and looking for ways they can use people. It sounds like that's all they're in relationships for. I'm casting a lot of judgment on these people with very little context. It just sounds like this. Not the a-hole sounds to me like they were fishing for you to pay for their gas costs or something, and now they're mad that it didn't work. Maybe. Because I was trying to figure out what did they expect to gain if they're already getting this free trip. Or this person said, I think they were hinting that they would not be giving a gift. Ooh, I could actually see that being it. Ooh, OP responded, maybe you were right about the gift part. I didn't even think of that because we didn't even ask or expect gifts, but maybe they just wanted to set the expectations low. You're paying for people to go to your wedding and not even expecting gifts Dang! These people are so generous and they're being treated like that by supposed friends? Okay, let's do one more. Would I be the a-hole if I dropped out as a bridesmaid a week before the wedding because of what happened at the Bachelorette? What happened at the Bachelorette? I'm curious. Let's find out. So I'm a bridesmaid at my friend's wedding. She just had a bachelorette party at the groom's family's cabin for 2 nights. That sounds like a fun bachelorette. It started off okay, but as the attendants got more and more drunk, the racism and anti-Semitism started coming out. For context, everyone else in the wedding party is white. I am mixed Jewish and Filipino. Okay, I'm curious if this is like just from the other attendees, or is this from the bride too? Like, at the very least, it sounds like the bride's allowing this, right? I mean, we need more context. We'll get more context. But, like, I want to be comfortable with a friend allowing this kind of talk. And especially for the OP, that is a pretty direct betrayal. Regardless of if the bride tried to stop it or whatever, I do not blame OP for not wanting to be around the other bridesmaids that are talking this way. I mean, regardless, like, the more I think about it, like, the worse it gets, because even if the bride did try to stop it, she's still keeping around people who are acting this way. Things aren't looking good. Like, I was trying to think of a way that the bride herself wouldn't be at fault, but, I'm not really finding anything. My part of the party was to put on a tea party in the afternoon. I spent weeks hand decorating a tea set as a wedding present. That is such a good gift, a hand decorated tea set. Weddings are huge in my culture and I wanted to share some of that joy. I bought and cooked a bunch of my cultural food, but the basic stuff, even Western food people like, lumpia, baked desserts, and sky flakes with cheese and meats. I don't know what that stuff is, but I'm sure it's delicious, and I think that is awesome to share some of your culture with the bride and doing things that are special and important in your culture and sharing that with her. Sharing the joy, like she said. I think that is awesome. I, of course, checked with the bride and maid of honor beforehand. Both said that would be okay, with the bride saying she loved lumpia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I was so proud of it, and it looked beautiful all set up. But immediately, some of the bridal party started making the ew ethnic food faces. What is wrong with branching out and trying different, like, I'm an extremely picky eater. There's lots of foods I won't eat. So I'll often be like, hey, tell me everything that's in this because I have food sensitivities and all of that stuff. But it's not about ethnic food. It's just like anytime I'm encountering something new, even with American food, I gotta do that. But I love trying food from different cultures, and I love when I find food I can try. I'm like, oh yay, this is something I can eat. Great. I actually ran into that, this is kind of a rabbit trail, but I went to Mexico and we went on a tour, and part of the tour was going to this restaurant, and I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to eat the meal because at least Americanized Mexican food I can't eat because of the spices. And so I was like, great, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. But there was actually stuff there that I could eat, and it was really good. And I was like, I actually get to partake in the culture. This is awesome. So I can't fathom being like, ew, ethnic food. I don't want to enjoy another culture. That is so sad. One of them chased around another with a sweet bun, laughing about how weird and scary it was. No, that was scary. My chair kind of leaned back. I thought I was gonna fall for a second. I was so disturbed by that I nearly fell. It was literally bread and cream. Yeah, no, that sounds delicious. What is wrong with these people? I sent pictures of my setup to other friends to see if it was something I did wrong, and everyone said it looked amazing. I bet it did. I bet it was absolutely amazing. Edit, because I need to be precise. People did say thank you, including the bride. They said the setup was very pretty. It was the reaction to the food by some of them, family of the groom, who also made the Auschwitz jokes. Oh my. I'm guessing that's something we'll get to later? Oh boy, can't wait! That being said, almost nobody spoke during the tea party portion and blamed it on being tired. The bride and friends did not say anything about the reactions of the other girls. Yeah, I don't like that. Like, I get it can be awkward to speak out against people, but this is your friend. Imagine what she's feeling. She went through all this effort to set this stuff up for you. What is wrong with you? The main feedback I got was that I was clearly a witch because my tea put everyone to sleep. It was a hibiscus, rose, mint, and calamansi mix. I don't know what calamansi is, but the rest of that sounds like a really good tea. But oh well, maybe the food isn't for them. And I get not every food from every culture will be from everyone. I obviously get that. I am an extremely picky eater. But but you can still be respectful. I moved on, but then the racist jokes started. The party started on Juneteenth. You can imagine the jokes that came out of that. Unfortunately, I can't imagine. Then anti-Semitic jokes about Holocaust camps and more. Does the bride say anything now? I can't believe that OP stuck it out. I would not blame her for getting the hell out of there. She should not have to put up with this. This is disgusting behavior, honestly. This is a direct quote. I say a lot of Nazi and Holocaust jokes for someone who isn't racist. I got some news for you. I was trapped on a boat with them when this started happening. I'm sorry. I feel so bad for OP. Later that night, as I was grabbing something from a room to then leave, the main perpetrator said to someone I considered a close friend, "I was worried you'd be offended by the Auschwitz jokes because you're German." "Oh, you were worried about them?" That friend replied she wasn't offended. I spoke up, "Well, I might be offended because I'm Jewish." Good on OP for speaking up. That is hard to do. I got up to leave with my stuff, and the girl said, "She's going back to Auschwitz." My friend, the bride, everyone laughed. I feel sick. I went outside and cried. They saw me from the window when they all came to eat food. Not a single one of my friends came to check on me. Oh, that is just terrible. You need better friends. The vibes continued along that line, and I felt like I was in the Jewish Asian version of Get Out, stuck in a giant home with a bunch of racist white people. I'm guessing that they carpooled and OP is not able to just leave. But honestly, the fear from it wasn't the worst part. It was that not a single one of my friends said anything. Yeah, I can imagine. Even if, it is totally possible that her friends could also be uncomfortable and could be, doing that awkward kind of laugh where they are just trying to maintain the peace. But maintaining the peace is not worth this. Too many people try to just maintain the peace. And that is not a good friend. That is not a good person. When you see an injustice, you should speak up about it, whether or not that is a close friend of yours that's experiencing it. And especially when it is a close friend of yours. I then was in a 4-hour car ride with one of said friend's bridesmaids on the way home. She spent the last hour of it lecturing me about how she's someone who can be cordial around people she doesn't agree with, but not everyone has that skill, especially when it's personal. And that I need to put myself in other people's shoes and see that they have positive intentions and more. Those are not positive intentions. And you know what? Why don't you try putting yourself in her shoes? For context, this cabin was 4 hours away and I have a pretty moderate disability. I was using 110% of my energy for this and had no energy left by the end of it. Yeah, I bet. A weekend away, while a lot of fun, when you have a disability that does expend precious energy. And having to deal with this on top of it? I pushed myself to extremes for these friends and the bride, and it was reciprocated with laughing at anti-Semitic jokes at my expense. The wedding is next weekend. I can barely see from the migraine I have, and my legs are struggling with walking. I don't feel it's worth it to hurt myself for someone who couldn't even bother to stand up for me or even check on me after. Absolutely not. Even without the disability and, putting yourself through this is not worth it for them. It's not. But even if she didn't have that, I don't think she should go to this wedding because she should not be around these people. All of my friends of color agree with me, but this was my high school friend group. I grew up in a very white town, so did I, and I am white, and I still see the problem with this. And I also feel guilty like I'm letting them down. They let you down. I'm not quite sure what to do, so Reddit, please help me out. Absolutely do not go. Do not. Cut all these people off. Edit, I was a history major, so I have to add some context that I didn't realize I missed until the comments. The friend in the car is the friend who said she wasn't offended by the Holocaust jokes to the person. She was asked by the jokester because she's German and lives in Germany. In the car, she did say that she is absolutely against the concentration camp joke and that she feels guilty she didn't say anything, but the words "I'm sorry" never came out of her mouth. But then I brought up the other stuff with the food and the racist comments, and that's when she went on that tangent. She also said she saw the racism, but told me in those situations, you just have to ignore it and choose not to be around those people again. Yeah, choose not to be around any of those people, including the people who didn't stand up for you. As she knew there was racism happening, including towards me, and didn't say anything or check in on me, I will be choosing to not be around her again. Absolutely. Like, not even not saying anything, but not checking in. I also told her repeatedly that I didn't want to talk about this now because I was so physically done, and she said, "This is my car and I am driving. I don't want to be uncomfortable and have this tension here. We are talking." She said she's not up for it. I have a vocal cord disorder and my speaking is limited, so I didn't say much, and I didn't want to get dropped off on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. I told her she crossed a boundary she can't come back from, though. The people making the racist jokes were the siblings/cousins of the groom. My friends were the ones laughing along and not saying anything. Laughing along with those jokes is just as bad as making them. I have been long distance with these friends since high school. The friend in the car with me was in a social justice club with me in high school. There was not signs of this behavior before from either this friend or the bride. I am also more white than not. I am ethnically Jewish, but not religiously. I often don't feel like I have a right to be upset about these things because other family have gone through worse. It still affects you, and I think you absolutely have a right to be upset about it. That's something I'm working to unlearn, and this was definitely some exposure therapy to that. Why didn't I say anything at the party? Because I was in the middle of nowhere surrounded by drunk people making racist comments at me. Or people in the comments really blaming her for not saying anything. I have survived violence before and know that sometimes keeping your mouth shut is what needs to happen until you're in a safe space. Lastly, I will not be going to the wedding. Good. Yeah, this comment. They are all terrible people. This includes your friend who had the audacity to lecture you on not agreeing with Nazi jokes, but laughing along and getting along with people who do. That means she knew it was wrong, but she's trying to gaslight you into thinking you're too sensitive and wrong for feeling offense. No. You were offended because it was offensive. It was racist, and so was she for going along with it and condoning it. I would go nuclear and expose all these racist a-holes, but that's easy for me to say. You deserve better. Please believe that. You deserve so much better. Absolutely, OP. You deserve so much better than this. I'm glad that she said, like, all of her friends of color agree with her, so that shows that she does have a support system of other friends. Cut all of these supposed friends off. Well, that was absolutely devastating, but I'm glad to hear that OP is not going to the wedding and is cutting these people off. As always, let me know your opinions in the comments. See ya!